What's up guys, my name's Danny Burt, you can follow me on Instagram down there, and this is Most Amazing Top 10. It's the channel where we take all kinds of weird and wonderful things from all around the world and put them into a nice little top 10 video so you guys don't have to. And today, we've got the top 10 facts about the Beatles. Now I'm going to presume if you're watching this, you know who the Beatles are. They've been idolised by millions of people now for over half a century, and as a massive fan of the Beatles myself, I can totally see why John, Paul, George and Ringo have inspired so many people. I obviously love the Beatles, but I want to hear from you guys before we get into talking about them. Who is your favourite music act of all time? Is it a band? Is it a person? Who are they? Let me know in the comments below. Alright then, let's get this magical mystery tour on the road with our number 10, which is John Lennon's clone. A Canadian dentist called Dr. Michael Zook owns one of John Lennon's teeth and is attempting to clone the singer who has been dead for 35 years. He bought the tooth at an auction in 2011 from a woman who used to be John Lennon's housekeeper, and she acquired it after he had it removed due to a cavity. Dr. Zook said he's going to wait for cloning technology to advance so that he can clone John Lennon and raise the little boy as his son. He said he wants to give him guitar lessons, keep him away from cigarettes and drugs. What? Okay, our number 9 one is actually also a Beatles fact that involves a dentist. I promise they're not all dentist based. It's about LSD laced coffee. It's a well-known fact that the Beatles' use of the psychedelic drug LSD helped shape much of their music in their later years, but they didn't even mean to take it the first time they did. John and George were having dinner at a friend's house in 1965. The man was a dentist who spiked their coffee with LSD when they weren't looking. When they left to go to a nightclub, the drug kicked in and the resulting feeling of euphoria associated with LSD went on to inspire their art, image, and most importantly their music for the next 5 years. Alright guys, I promise you there's no more dentists in this video. If you see one pop up around me, let me know and I'll have them removed. In the meantime, let's look at our number 8, which is the fact that the Beatles concerts sometimes smell of urine. Yes, that's right guys, although you might have seen the crying fans and heard the screaming fans, you probably haven't smelt their pee. Well, according to a number of sources, the Beatles caused such hysteria in the early days that many of the young teenage fans peed themselves with excitement. Bob Geldof told Q magazine in 2010 that he remembers looking down at the cinema floor and seeing these rivulets of pee in the aisles. He said what he associates most with the Beatles is the smell of girls' urine. Yeah, I prefer to associate them with their fantastic music and just move away from the whole pee thing. So let's move on to our number 7, which is that the Pope rates the Beatles. In 2010, Pope Benedict's best ever pop rock album of all time was apparently the Beatles' 1966 album Revolver, according to the Vatican's magazine. The list also contained albums by Michael Jackson, Fleetwood Mac and Oasis. It's not known exactly why the Vatican would select these kind of rock icons who have been known to dabble in drugs, but it does seem to be a little tongue-in-cheek. They said it was meant to give some musical resistance to people during winter and the rising tide of modern music festivals. Ouch, low blow there from the Pope about music festivals, their words not mine. But on to our number 6 now guys, and it's all about baby George Harrison. It's well known that George Harrison was the youngest member of the Beatles, but it might be surprising to learn that he was just 14 years old when he joined the band. He joined John and Paul in 1958, back when the group was called the Quarrymen. John, the founder of the group, was 17 at the time and wasn't too happy about having a 14-year-old in his band, but couldn't say no after he was very impressed by George's guitar skills during an impromptu audition on top of a double-decker bus. Just remember guys, don't be intimidated by something if you feel too young to do it. George Harrison joined the Beatles when he was 14, so you can do anything. Anyway, time for number 5 now guys, and it's the Eleanor Rigby coincidence. The melancholic Beatles track Eleanor Rigby paints the rather sad picture of an old woman cleaning up rice after a wedding, who is all alone in life with nobody who loves her. It's a haunting song that has many people asking, who was Eleanor Rigby? Well, Paul said he got the first name from a woman called Eleanor Bron, who helped film the band's movie Help, and the surname from a wine selling company called Rigby and Evans. That's what Paul said, but an amazing coincidence occurred when in the 1980s the grave of a woman actually called Eleanor Rigby was found in a church in Liverpool where the Beatles are from. In fact, it was only a few meters away from where John and Paul first met in 1957 as teenagers. What do you think guys? Do you think Paul subconsciously had that name in his head the whole time from when he was a kid, or do you think it's one massive coincidence? I'll let you figure that one out as we move on to our number 4, which is the fact that the Beatles broke up at Disney World. When the Beatles broke up in 1970, there was mass hysteria among many of their fans across the world, but behind closed doors a few years later, the scene was even more chaotic. George and Paul had assembled in New York with their lawyers to sign the final legal papers that would officially dissolve the band, and Ringo was on the phone, but John, the founder of the group, was nowhere to be seen. John apparently said the stars weren't right for him to come, which made the other members furious. In the end, a lawyer had to bring the massive stack of legal papers that John had to sign to where he was staying, which was the Magical Kingdom at Disney World. It was there that he wrote his name at the bottom of the page, thereby ending the group for good. Disney World, where dreams go to die. Alright, on to our number 3 now, and it's the fact that the song Yesterday used to be called Scrambled Eggs. Yesterday was written by Paul McCartney and has since become one of the most covered songs in the world, with over 4,000 official cover versions of it. Although it's a lot of people's favourite Beatles song, it was originally called Scrambled Eggs. Paul apparently woke up one morning in 1963 with a complete tune in his head, and while making some eggs for breakfast, he added the lyrics "Scrambled eggs, oh you've got such lovely legs, scrambled eggs." Now fortunately, or maybe unfortunately if you love scrambled eggs, those lyrics didn't stick. Paul ended up adding his own lyrics to the song, which eventually became Yesterday, and he still maintains it's the best song he ever wrote. So we're at number 2, and did you know that the Beatles were going to make a Lord of the Rings movie way back in the 1960s? As strange as it might sound, John Lennon really wanted to turn the Lord of the Rings novels into movies, some 40 years before Peter Jackson brought the trilogy to the silver screen. John had everything planned out and had even begun to cast who would play what. George was to be Gandalf, Paul was going to be Frodo, and Ringo was supposed to be Samwise Gamgee. And what about John himself? Well, John wanted to play Gollum. We want the movie rights, precious. Yeah, I'm glad that never actually happened, because thankfully the author J.R.R. Tolkien said no. So guys, obviously I love the Beatles, but even that was a hell of a lot of trivia. So let's go over what we've learned. We've learned that John Lennon might be cloned, we've learned that the Beatles ended at Disney World, and we've learned that even the Pope seems to love them, but our number 1 fact is the Paul McCartney is dead conspiracy. Now some of you more serious Beatles fans might know this, but a lot of people don't. There is and has been a conspiracy movement for almost 50 years now that Paul McCartney died in the middle of the Beatles' rise to fame. The theory began in 1969 when American college students published an article claiming to show evidence for their theory that the real Paul McCartney was killed in a car accident in 1966, and that the band replaced him with a lookalike to avoid mass hysteria from fans. Apparently the other members of the band were told to keep quiet, but gave away clues to their fans through their album artwork as well as in their actual songs. For example, some people say that if you listen to the song Strawberry Fields Forever and you turn the volume right up, at the end you can apparently hear John sing I Buried Paul, but he says he was just saying cranberry sauce, so who knows. Well guys, I'd love to sit here and talk about the Beatles all day, but I can't, so I'm going to wrap this video up right now by asking you guys which one of these was your favourite, and do you know any better Beatles facts? If you do, let me know in the comments below. On one final note, you can actually listen to the Beatles on Spotify now as of last month, so if you haven't really checked them out before and you kind of want to get into them more, then definitely do that. Alright guys, that's all I've got time for in this episode of Most Amazing Top 10. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the great content we have on this channel. There's 2 videos floating over there right now. If you want to watch one right now, just give it a click. In the meantime guys, my name's Danny Burke. You can follow me on Instagram. This is Most Amazing Top 10. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you very soon.